as an online teacher, making corrections is necessary, but you can kind of feel like, you know, you're not very pleasant when you're correcting something difficult. So today, Rosaline Carter on YouTube actually asked different ways to correct students in the best possible way on a platform like Cambly. So thanks for the question, Rosaline. I hope I'm saying your name right. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Hey there, I'm Allison from onlineteacherallison.com, and I teach stay-at-home parents how to teach online so they can earn an income from home. So correcting students on an online platform can seem kind of daunting because you want to be that happy teacher and you want them to want to come to class, but you also want them to learn correctly. So we're going to talk about some ways you can correct students today while still keeping the atmosphere positive and having a good time for both of you. So I'm going to talk a lot about the online ESL space because that's what Cambly is, but I will reference other types of classes that you could offer on an online teacher marketplace, like say OutSchool. So the first thing I want to say is, this has a caveat, okay? So try to avoid the word no. Now stick around to the end because I do have an example of when you can use the word no. Just for me, as my general rule of thumb, is I really try to avoid the word no because who likes to hear no, right? No, you can't go swimming. No, you can't have ice cream for dinner. Like, yes, we know it's not logical to have ice cream for dinner, but does a kid like to hear it? No. All right, so stick around to the end. We're going to get to that caveat. So one of the ways I really like to correct students is role playing. So if they're really young, I usually have a prop with me. This is Dino. So let's just practice introductions just so we can give an example. We're going to practice introducing ourselves. So I'm going to start as the teacher. Hello, I'm teacher Allison. What's your name? And when it's time for them to talk, they might just say Dino, or they might mispronounce it if it's, an English name that you know how to pronounce. So what I really like to focus on myself is speaking in complete sentences. VIP Kid really focused on this. Not all do. Like Cambly, I don't see the big focus there, but me personally, that's something I bring in because it, one, helps to fill the time. Two, it's more rigorous. I hate that word. And three, I just feel like it makes them better speakers and it really helps them out in the long run. So if Dino just said Dino, I'm going to say, my name is Dino. So we're kind of correcting and teaching while also keeping it positive. So once I've modeled how to use the sentence for Dino, I'm going to gesture to let Dino know it's his turn to speak. He might still say just Dino, or my noom is Dino, or just something mispronounced. So if there's something mispronounced in there, let's say they're saying me is Dino. That's a pretty common mistake. You're going to say my name is Dino. You're going to really focus on the my. So I like to just isolate my, and I point to my mouth so they really see how the letters are working. The I, my. I don't necessarily start with that, but I'm showing you. So my, and then I let Dino try it. We're going to try that about 3 times, whether Dino gets it right or wrong. Just repetition to help Dino get it right. So once Dino has it, we're going to try that sentence again. My name is Dino. And let Dino try again. Now, if you've kind of gone over this and Dino still isn't getting it, just move on, because the odds are that skill or that sound or whatever it is that you're working on correcting is going to come up again, and you just don't want to beat them over the head with it. Like introductions, you can practice introductions at the beginning of every class. So you want to focus on it, spend a couple of minutes, but don't spend your whole class time, and then move on. So we have corrected Dino's grammatical structure just by practicing together, and we made it fun. There were high fives in there. I didn't model them, but you would do it. And we're going to work on it. And if there's time at the end of class, we can work on it some more. Or if something lends itself to it, like throughout the lesson, you can work on it then too, kind of sprinkle that in or spiral it in. But you really try to want to model the best way to do it. So for me, one thing I notice is I cut off the endings, like, where you going? Or how are you doing? So I blame my husband. He types like that in texting. But anyways, it's probably not even him. It's probably me just being a lazy English speaker. And if you're a native English speaker, you probably have picked up something to that effect as well. Southern speakers, if you have that Southern drawl, you might have to try to tone it down a little bit. It really depends on the platform you're on. A lot of them want neutral sounding English speakers, so they don't want that Southern accent or like that Northeastern accent, like that Massachusetts, like the ka with the R's. They don't necessarily want all of that. So you kind of have to try to play it down or find students or platforms that's okay with it. So back to my point, you have to look at yourself too when you're making corrections. Is you have to make sure you're not making those mistakes and modeling them unintentionally, because it is so easy for me to say, what are you doing after school today? Where are you going? I want to try to focus. What are you doing today? Where are you going? And really make sure that G is added to the end. So for me, that's something I pay attention to. For you, just listen to yourself converse with your family and figure out kind of what shortcuts you're taking, if any, and see if you need to fix that in your lessons. Is it coming across in your live lessons? Because that could be teaching them incorrectly. They're hearing you, even if they're not saying it, and it's going to make them say the same thing. Here's what I want to talk about saying no. So for the letters, for example, I'm going the wrong way. M and N, they sound very similar. And I know VIP Kid teaches them pretty close together. So when you're teaching them in the same lesson, it can be pretty hard to differentiate because the and the are very close. So this is when I like to use the word no, and I don't use it in like a demeaning sort of way. I kind of turn it into a game. So I'm going to have my flashcards up. First, we're going to practice them in isolation. So we're going to practice the M sound, say and let them do it. And then we're going to practice the N sound. We're really going to get up close and personal with our mouth so they can see that our tongue is touching the roof of our mouth. You're holding this up so they can see. You're holding this up so they can see. And then, of course, you're giving them the chance. And then I make this into a game, especially if it's something they're struggling with. I'm sorry. I don't know why there's a glare today. So this is M. We all know M says but I'm going to make a game. Does M say And then ideally, they're going to say no. And then does N say and if you want them to say no again, and then you can turn it over to them. Have them practice. Nose, no. Mouth, no. No, nose. So you make it into a game. You try to find things that they have around them or, on them. So for me, I use body parts. You can pull it up on a stuffed animal, on a toy if you want to. So that's a way you can say it, especially if you notice they're having trouble. Just make it into a game. And then if you catch them, say, my name, your name, or your name. So you can really focus and pay attention to that error and practice it without really beating them down. So different platforms will have different ways of correcting them. VIP Kid really liked the gentle, and just me personally. I'm not saying no is like a bad word, but sometimes with those kids that are really struggling, you don't want to say no for 30 minutes straight. I don't want to hear it for 30 minutes straight. I want to hear I did a good job. I've been in jobs and positions where I just heard this is wrong and that's wrong and this is bad and that's bad, and it beats you down morally. And if you've ever been in that position, then you probably know. And I don't want I don't want my students learning English to feel that way or learning whatever I'm teaching them. So that's why I really try not to say no and turn it into a game. And even if you are teaching older students or adults, you can make it a game still. Don't feel like just because you're not teaching 5-year-olds like I tend to do, that you can't make it a game. You can gamify lessons, and there's a whole bunch of stuff I can talk about gamifying lessons once we're all ready to get there. So that is one small way to do it. So those are kind of your ways to make corrections. Just very briefly is to practice it in isolation. Think about your own errors and if you're making them, and making it a game and saying no. I hope you found this helpful, Rosaline. Thank you so much for your comment. It actually worked out perfectly because it was on my list of things to say. So obviously, you're going to find out what works best for your students and for your personal teaching style. You might not be the gamey sort of teacher, and that's okay. I really like to sprinkle it in because I get bored too. So find what works for you. It is okay if you spend a class doing something and you decide, hey, that's not really working for my student, and you try something else. That's part of being a great teacher, is reflecting and understanding that. And I'm sure you do that with your kiddos at home too. I had a moment with my son today, a moment of parenting, chaotic parenting. And I realized the way we handled it together didn't quite work. So that's kind of what's going on in my head, is I'm trying to figure out what's going to be a better way to handle it next time it comes up. Because it's 4. He's 4. There will be a next time. We're parenting. He's humaning. We're learning together. So have grace with yourself. Have grace for yourself. If something doesn't work, pick yourself back up by the bootstraps and try again. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have different ways we learn best, and so do your online learners. All right. I have a new video every week, but while you're waiting, make sure you watch this one that teaches you how to get hired as an online ESL teacher. And make sure you grab my free download at onlineteacherallison.com/platform. It will help match you to the best online teaching platform for you, whether you want to teach ESL or you want to go to a teacher marketplace where you can teach just about anything else. I hope you have the greatest week ever, and we will chat soon. Bye.